I'm back. Another review. Oh my God, what's this? Well, I guess you can read it on the top. It's a PRS SE. A cheaper PRS, if you will. Made somewhere in the Far East. Can't be any good, can they? Or can they? Well, I recently went along to meet a guy called Bernie Marsden. You ever heard of him? Well, a lot of guys haven't. You know, younger guys don't really know who Bernie Marsden is. But you might be surprised to learn that Bernie was actually in Whitesnake in the peak of their period. Well, they're still in great peak period, don't get me wrong, but in the days when Bernie Marsden was in it, and you know, the song Here I Go Again was around, which is one of the biggest selling albums with that song on. You know, it's all the top stuff of the period. Bernie was a god. Well, he still is in his own ways, an awesome musician. But PRS, some years ago, made a PRS guitar that was the Bernie Marsden version. And that sold pretty well, but you know what Bernie's, well, maybe you don't know what Bernie's like, but he wanted to update it to get to today's playing and today's level of guitar for a low cost, because Bernie's somebody who wants many people to play what he does, or often what he does. So along came the Bernie Marsden PRS SE version 2. And this is one of the first guitars that's been updated to the new standard, so to speak, where, well, we'll cover that when we get there. Let's whip this out of its box so I can show you what you actually get for the money, because this was a special deal, and you'll see why it's a special deal in a moment, and all the things that go with it, and what a great guitar it really is. I bought this one from Sound Affects, and somewhere here will be the website and probably the phone number and things like that for you guys in England. Now, it's unlikely they're going to get you one of these because they're probably all gone, but if they haven't all gone, well, I guess they will have long gone. But if they haven't all gone, you'll get one from them. And if they have all gone, you'll be able to buy one of these without the sort of extra bits that you're going to see presently. All very interesting stuff. So hold on, let me go and whip it out the case. No, not that. The guitar. Well, here we are. The Bernie Marsden PRS SE Mark II. As you've probably never seen one. This is exactly as it comes out the packet, so to speak. Yeah, it's all in there. You'll notice the thing about the PRS Bernie Marsden is these things all in a line like this. That's what he wanted, so there it is. Nice looking guitar, by the way. But what we're going to do is we're going to get down closer and take a real good look at what the guitar's about, what's changed on it, what makes it worthwhile or not, you know, some of these guitars. And let's take a serious review at whether this guitar is actually worth the money. But I do want to talk about it a little bit more just before we go up close and personal, because this particular guitar is a little bit different than the regular PRS Bernie Marsden. I believe it's only from Sound Effects as well, so affects, that is, like that. By the way, I did pay for this one, so don't think I'm playing Sound Effects for just any old reason. I'm not, it's where I bought it, but there's a story behind that and we'll get to that later. You can see that as well as having all the regular sort of PRS paraphernalia. Let's get rid of that. It's got a few other bits and pieces with it, actually included in the case. Yeah. Let's take a closer look. Well, first of all, you've got the actual Sound Effects Premier Repair Centre, soundeffectspremier.com. Docket telling you what's been done and what hasn't been done and how they can repair things and all that sort of stuff. Then he's got me, then it's SCBM, Bernie Marsden case, gig bag. But more importantly, on the back here, and I'll probably put a close-up up there actually, about this, because you don't see many companies actually doing what these guys did. I requested certain things on it, and yeah, it's all here. It's all actually perfect. Yeah, everything's in it. pickup heights, neck reliefs, nut action, should I say, nut adjustment, string heights, all sorts of things they did. I like to see that because that's value for money. And we're going to talk about value for money a bit later. But as well as that, actually in the case, these lyrics to this Here I Go Again by Whitesnake, all very nicely printed out and actually signed at the bottom by Bernie, because this PRS is a signature model. They only have a small number of these guitars, so £799 is the list price in the UK. Whether you'll be able to get one in the USA is another story. You might, so you might want to go and ask around, but if you can't, maybe give these guys a ring. I know they do ship international, hopefully. Well, if not, well, I tried. It's worth watching anyway. Yeah, so there's Bernie himself. He signed this thing. It's been touched by the man. Yeah, doesn't make it play any better, but it's nice to see compared to things like, a Marshall amp, the Joe Satriani Marshall amp that Joe's never seen and never signed and never anything. But this one's actually had Bernie on the piece of paper, so to speak. Very nice. You can put it in a frame, and it all goes to the sort of overall feel about the guitar and that sort of stuff. But as well as that, you actually get Bernie Marsden, Where's My Guitar, on the tour bus with the Snake Man. It says here, Bernie is part of the legendary wave of British blues rock players I heard that had it all. His soul, chops and sound resonated with me. He is one of the badass guitar players. Steve Lukather, Toto. Well, there he is. There's Bernie on the back. And what's great about this one, he signed that too. It's included with the guitar. I think all these little things all add up to something quite nice, really. Especially for that £799 or maybe whatever the dollars are where you are. But again, quite unique, and by the man himself. Lastly, they do include something else. It's a little bit of a letdown, and I'll explain why in a moment, because it's not as it seems. On the back of the guitar, you got a plate for where they put these, which you'll see. But they also provide a second plate signed by Bernie Marsden, and it says here, number 4 of 25. I know it was number 4 because I ordered it pretty early on. There it is. The only problem is, well, it is a Bernie Marsden signature. It's been done on an engraving machine. Bit of a letdown. Would have been nicer being the real deal, wouldn't it? But, well, it's still number 4 of 25, and I guess you've got the advantage where this doesn't wear off. You've still got his signature in the book and on the piece of paper, but it would have been nicer on the guitar, really. That's the only criticism of that. So, very nice addition. You've got to remember you're not paying a lot of money for the guitar. Not really in relative terms, especially for PRS. So we'll take it from there. So now let's get down and have a closer look at the guitar and the specs and the what do you get, and a bit later on you'll be able to hear it played. So that should be good. Hold on. Okay, well here we go from the top. This is the Bernie Marsden version 2 PRS SE. As I said, a limited version. I think there's only about 300 of these guitars in total for the whole of the world. You get an idea, there's a number of different colours, and basically 25 of this one, so 300 in total is not a lot. You see a lot of the some of the Gibsons and some of the other PRSs, indeed the real PRSs, having limited runs of 100, for example, like the Dragons and things like that. But we're not about that. We're about this guitar that's made in Korea, and it's a low cost. It's £799 list price in the UK. I paid about £700 because I visited Bernie Marsden at Sound Effects Premiere in Liverpool, and that was, you got a bit of a discount and you could place an order. Anyway, back to the guitar. You've got a maple top. You can see on this one that it's joined in the middle. It's boot matched as they would be. I wouldn't call it a incredibly figured top, but it's still very nice. And they don't tell me how it's put together. It might be solid maple, it might be veneered. Often on the lower price guitars they're veneered. I can't tell you about this one. I'm sure that if you ask Sound Effects they'll tell you. You've got the volume and 2 tone controls, one for each pickup. You have a stop tail, which is a sort of standard for this type of or style of guitar, very much based around a Les Paul but slightly different, this one, which is more than I can say for some of the other PRS guitars that I have. The pickups are made actually in Korea as well, and they're a PRS design. And what they said is, oh yeah, well we make the pickup here and then we ship it over to Korea and they make the same one. Well, I'm sure they do, but we'll come back to pickups later on. Nice enough finish all over, and yeah, very nice. Let's move forward and have a look at the neck. Now this is a rosewood neck, which is pretty nice. Yeah, if you look at the sort of texture on the neck yourself, you can see that the sort of grain in the wood's slightly looser than some of these other woods that you see. So, you know, pretty good idea. It is rosewood. If it was Brazilian rosewood, the grain on the wood would be much wider, in my experience. Now you really get a view of the grain that I was talking about. You can see the frets, like many Gibsons these days, in fact, overhang the plastic. You see that? That's not uncommon, and it's quite useful if you ever want to change the frets. You know, having frets covered over the ends with plastic actually makes things much harder to do. So if ever you get to a refret stage, that is, it's probably easier. Yeah, nice finish. Nice, it's well bound as well. Now the nut, this is supposed to be some type of material that allows for slippage of the string through there really easily. And I guess it probably is. They don't tell you exactly what it is, but I wouldn't worry about that. The only thing I thought about this is that these slots are cut awfully deep. You could say that, well, that brings everything into a line, and it surely does. It's a great action on this guitar. Now, one of the nicer features on this version 2 is that you actually got Paul Reed Smith signature across the top, and the SE's taken a back seat down here, and I dare say if you're careful enough with it you could get rid of that, but that's another story. We've got tuners that look a bit like snotty Gibson ones. A Bernie Marsden logo on the truss rod cover, and not much else to see. You've got a sort of standard PRS headstock, black on the front. Not much more to say about that. Let's turn it over and have a look what's going on around there. Oh, it's nicer to see that World Musical Instruments has been actually relegated to round the back here. just my own view, that is. And PRS's name actually on the front of the guitar, which is what it mimics, or supposed to be. The tuners are pretty standard run-of-the-mill things, in my opinion. They work, there's no doubt about that, but I think you could improve these a little bit. They're really not that great, I don't think. They're going to work, don't get me wrong, but you could upgrade them at some stage for something slightly better. There's another one thing about these tuners that I did notice, which was a bit unusual and I've never seen before. I'll see if I can show you that now. Okay, well, here we go. It's not a criticism per se, but if you actually look down there, it's hard to see, but those tuners actually are standing off the back of the neck, not actually flush with it. And most of the guitars, well, I have to say every guitar I've ever seen, they're always flush. These ones are lifted off a little bit. It's just a point, just something I saw while I was moving around. Now what I do want to talk about a little bit is the back of the neck here. On this one, it's been sanded back by the maker. So because this is what Bernie wanted, he apparently had one of these guitars sanded back on the neck by the PRS distributor, and decided that was a good idea. And indeed, it does feel particularly nice. Of course, you could do that on any guitar, but this one already comes with it already done, which is it's a nice touch, really. And just while we're talking of the neck, this has got a wide, thick profile, not a wide, thin like some of the PRSs that I've been used to. It's a bit more like a Gibson Les Paul type of feel. Now, moving along a bit further, we've got what I've come to see as a different type of neck fit and back angle here, so you can play a bit better. You know, it's cut away or modified a little bit than, say, a Gibson Les Paul. I don't mind this type of thing, actually. It works quite well when you're playing, and it's certainly better than the old chunky Les Pauls. Still remain, many of them. So you know, nice improvement, low cost, and you can see, just while we're in this position here, the complete gloss of the body and the no gloss of the neck. It's like a satin finish almost. I wouldn't call it satin because it's been rubbed down, you know, with sandpaper, so satin's the wrong word. Now, the back of this guitar is mahogany, as is the neck, by the way, up here. The front rose was, as I said. But what you get here is, you know, you look at the real cheap Chinese things, or maybe some of the Korean ones, maybe different brands and things like that. What you tend to find is the back of the guitar is made up out of 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 or 20 pieces, literally. And you can see, normally when you look down the end of the guitar, and on one I've just recently reviewed, even on the top piece here, you can see all these different pieces of wood just thrown together. On this guitar, I'm pleased to say that it looks to me like there's actually 2 pieces, this side, and the joins just right there down the middle. You can see it if you look careful, and that's confirmed really when you look at the end of the body. So all very nice. Yeah, not much you can say about the back except to say that's a good quality back. Now what I'm going to do is to take this cover off and take this cover off, so we can just have a quick look inside at the electronics and look at the sort of quality that's floating around inside there. Just hold on. One of the very first things I want to home in on in the control panel is that they're using Alpha Parts, which is a reasonably decent brand actually, and the wiring's been put together quite nicely. It's not bad soldering, you know, it's what you'd expect really. So I think as far as the control panel goes, I don't think there's much to worry about in here. It's much different than some of the guitars I've seen on the lower end of the price range, and not really much to, or really anything that you could really want to really upgrade in there. So yeah, good, that'll save you some money. It's also nice to see that this has actually been shielded on the back plate, and also the shielding paint in this cavity. Now in this area there's only one singular thing that I'd want to raise the question about, and it's not the end of the world, it's simple enough to fix, but I just want to raise the point because I did see the problem. If you take the Bernie Marsden logo and you fit it, as really you could, you'll note that the holes are actually slightly offline. Let's go in closer and take a look. If you look carefully here, the hole is actually right there, right down in the bottom corner. So you'd have to re-drill this up here to get the Bernie Marsden logo fitted on your guitar. It's no big deal, of course, but you know, it'd have been nice to have it fitting right, wouldn't it? And there's a quick shot with the original fitted. You can see it's drilled properly. On the pickup switch, that looks to me like a pretty regular generic type pickup switch. There's not what you can say about it really. It works. That's it. I just thought we'd take a look and also notice the shielding paint in the cavity, and indeed the shielding on the back of the plate. I'm back. Well, what do you think? I know you've got to hear it yet, but you can see there's quality in the thing. This one's actually built up to a standard, not down to a price. A very subtle difference. You can go and spend a few hundred and start spending a lot more money, or you can go and spend a little bit more and have a guitar that you probably play for a very long time. This one's going to stand up to the rigours of everyday playing. Anyway, quite a nice guitar. I'll talk a little bit more about it before we move on to the playing. Now, some of the information's a little bit vague about the guitar. In particular, for example, what I could find on the internet, they sort of kept referring to 245 pickups historically. But what are in this one? Well, I'm not entirely sure, but they don't sound bad. I've already played this guitar earlier. And I think that if I was going to improve anything, that would be the area that I'd change. That'd be the first thing that I would change on this guitar. There's very little else where you could ever bother, really, tell you the truth. There's one more thing. I noticed this switch. Some people would disagree with me and say, well, there's nothing wrong with it, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. So I might change that at some stage. Not now, there's nothing wrong with the one that's in there, but at some stage later on, I might go and get one of the original Switchcraft type of switches and use one of them, because they feel a bit better than this one. This one feels a bit, I don't know, how to explain. You know what it feels about. Yeah, what I did like about this guitar is how they fitted 9 strings rather than 10s. That's what I requested before they shipped it, and they got the setup really, really nice. And you know, that goes a long way, because what you get with a lot of cheaper guitars or lower price guitars, they're not always set up the way that you might want them, but this setup was absolutely perfect. It really was. What else? What else can I say about it? Well, you'll get probably 1 year warranty. I don't hear much talk about warranty. It'll be on there on the internet if you look. This one listed at £799, which is what I said I think earlier. I paid about £700 because I went into this with Bernie Marsden and all the rest of it. It's really worth going. Other than that, yeah, that's about it. Oh, let's give it a score. That's a useful thing. So, yeah, score. It's got a nice case with it as well, although it's not a hard case. It's not a cheap, it's not a cheap feeling case, and it can protect your guitar pretty well. So, I give this one probably a 10, because of all the things you get with it. You know, you're getting the book, you're getting the properly signed lyrics to Here I Go Again, which is his sort of 25th anniversary, I think it is, or something like that, some long time anniversary of the song and the album getting to #1. And Whitesnake isn't really my type of band, but that doesn't affect this. I mean, you got to look at the review of what it is. It's getting a 10 because of the quality, because of the woods, because the tones. It sounds pretty good. Everything really. The book, even the nameplate. It all adds up to what's a great value for. Well, I paid £700. You probably could haggle with them a little bit, maybe, or not. But for that money, a really great job. Well done, and well done to sound effects for getting this one in the way that it should be. Yours should be the same. I mean, they didn't treat me any different than you. I still had to pay. Don't forget to go to www.TonyMckenzie.com if you get a chance. There's loads of reviews on there. No doubt this will get there one day, along with the rest. And yeah. What more can I say? Oh, it's one more thing. Is the sound effects guys. That's their website there. And their phone number. They did me such a good job of this, I thought I'd put it on here. Sounds like a plan. Now get out of here.
Thank you very much. If you want to come down and have a look at this, by all means come down and check these out. And I'd just like to thank the guys in the stall for bringing me up here today, and Jez, everybody. Most of all, thank you for coming out tonight. It's been a pleasure playing for you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.